evening and welcome to this meeting of the Washington County Board of Education. I call to order this meeting and declare a quorum. We have all members present this evening. At this time, I'm going to call upon Board Member Linda Murray to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Please join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll have approval of this evening's agenda. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Any discussion? All those in favor of approval? All right, we have 7 affirmative votes. Student member concurs. Motion carries. We have an approved agenda. We have no minutes to approve this evening because of our December meeting being so close to the holidays. So we'll do our minutes of that business meeting, our last December business meeting, at our next meeting, January 18th. At this time, we'll have public comment. We have one individual signed up to speak, Jessica Burton. I usually read from policy KD before we begin public comment. I don't have a copy of that policy in front of me, but you are free to speak about anything dealing with Washington County Public Schools, with the exception of anything involving personnel or mentioning students by name. 5 minutes is the time allotted. Mr. Bickford is our timekeeper. Want to explain what the
30 seconds and wrap it up.
Okay, so whenever you're ready, Ms. Burton.
Okay. Check 1, check 2. You ready? Okay. You can begin. My name is Jessica Burton, and I teach first grade at Salem Avenue Elementary School. Shout out to the 1323s for being here and showing support tonight. It is truly the place to be. We are very fortunate at Salem to have supportive principal and APs, especially through these difficult times. Tonight, I want to speak about the cleanliness of our schools. We all know there is a severe shortage of custodians. Although we have amazing custodial staff who do the best they can with the resources and time they are given, the cleaning has become inconsistent throughout the pandemic. Unfortunately, this is happening across the county. We all want clean, organized, and bright classrooms to optimize student success. I'm not here to throw our head custodian under the bus because he works just as hard as we do. He goes above and beyond for us every single day, even taking his own time to help. But this is a situation that is beyond the control of any one custodian in any building. Please keep in mind that at many schools, students are now eating in classrooms 2 times a day. Teachers across the county are using their own time to clean their classrooms. Most of us are using our own income to purchase cleaning supplies so we can clean often and keep everyone safe. We all understand that our custodians are very short-staffed and spread thin, just like everybody else. Administration, teachers, paras, counselors, special ed, cafeteria staff, transportation, health rooms, and maintenance. The list goes on and on. We are all in this together and need to have these discussions to come to some sort of solution that benefits all students and all staff of WCPS. Staff want to be at school, teaching, supporting, and being with our students. But there is a huge concern of contracting COVID or the need to be quarantined and having our leave being used, if we have any leave. Using our own leave or leave without pay during quarantine creates an undue hardship on staff and their families. We need to think outside of the box and work together. Some suggestions include teachers choosing to clean their own rooms should be paid 2 or 3 hours of extra pay per week per diem. If it's an ESP, they could collect their per diem plus overtime. Regardless of your position in this county, as a team, anyone choosing to step up and clean should be paid a flat rate. We would like for you to consider these solutions as a start of many collaborations. And in the spirit of collaboration, we would like for you all to once again revisit the COVID leave and staff being forced to use their own sick leave. For example, if we were in need to quarantine per CDC guidelines for 5 or more days, perhaps the board could support staff that have limited personal and sick leave days with a minimal 3-day COVID give back or forgiveness of leave used. Dr. Michael, you and this board hold high expectations for teachers, and we always figure out a way to make every day successful as possible for our students, no matter what. We thank you for hearing us, but more importantly, listening to us. Let's work together to find these solutions that benefit everyone. And I will be here all night if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burton. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. This is Becky Higgins-Airy. I am a teacher at South Hagerstown High School. I am here this evening to speak to you all on behalf of teachers, employees, as a representative of the Washington County Teachers Association Board of Directors. The Washington County Teachers Association has a great concern for the health and safety of WCPS students and employees. We will continue our efforts to communicate and collaborate with CES and the Board of Ed. As the COVID positivity rate is exponentially greater in our community, and the current vaccination rate hovers around 50%, the hardship and the health risk is clear. Our public health systems are taxed. Daycares are closing. Student and employee illness and absenteeism is exponential. The pandemic exacerbates the staffing shortage. Employees and resources are spread thin and exhausted. Social distancing protocols have been and continue to be almost non-existent. Proper use of masks in schools is wavering. Our schools, public health facilities, and our greater community is in crisis. We must come together with the community and the school system to jointly develop and agree on a plan that ensures continuity of instruction while also ensuring staff and student health and safety in response to the rising infection rates. We must be realistic about potentially returning to virtual learning and be proactive. Teachers who worked through the last year of school closures have valuable insights and recommendations for what worked and what did not work for students' brains and bodies in that virtual learning environment. Also, in addressing children and employees who do not have internet access, WCPS can reinstate the internet pucks that had been recalled. Paper resources can be provided to students. We can generally and should start working now to be proactive and to be prepared. We also must be realistic and creative about how best to support our employees' safety, well-being, for retention and recruitment. We can accomplish this together through conversation, collaboration, and negotiation. Our educators are facing financial hardship. Teachers on quarantine or sick leave due to COVID are not being paid in any form because WCPS refuses to provide administrative leave and paid sick leave if they are able to work from home. Teachers rely on every check to ensure their needs and their families' needs are met. The status of the leave situation, as well as not having a backup plan for ever-increasing numbers, is a grave mistake. On several occasions over the course of the pandemic, the WCTA has attempted to negotiate and come to an agreement on changes that will support the workforce that serves our students. A shared plan for virtual learning and a designated leave concept for educators who are either in quarantine or COVID positive are a couple examples. And in this new year, we are asking WCPS leadership to take a new proactive approach to the ongoing and evolving situation. We therefore respectfully request that we come together to discuss specific areas of concern so that together we can proactively respond to this community crisis. We are hopeful that we can work together to ensure a safe working and learning environment for all. We want to do whatever we can to ensure that we remain teaching and learning in person as much as possible. And that if some sort of emergent need for hybrid or virtual learning becomes necessary, we approach that situation with an already determined, collaboratively developed plan. As always, we thank you for your consideration. And we also have some additional suggestions. I am going to just give you guys a copy of that. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hello, I'm Ethan Lowen, and I'm speaking because actually I like what the last two speakers had to say in the sense that it's important for us to actually send ideas around publicly as opposed to just having things occur. You know, one of the things I think is important is as we go through what the issues are and how to resolve them is to make sure that there's appropriate information, and that's something I just wanted to talk about. It's about a big picture view, not so much about very specifics, but hopefully it's helpful just in regards to what's already been discussed. So since the pandemic began 20 months ago, COVID has become the third leading cause of death in America, and breakthrough infections from vaccinated individuals are rampant. Those statements are factual and concerning, but they only provide knowledge if we know why they are true. Breakthrough infections are when a person who has immunity still gets infected, and that happens because our immune system is built to allow infections that occur when a person is vaccinated or has natural immunity from any virus. With COVID, 12% of vaccinated individuals have breakthrough infections. By comparison, the chickenpox vaccine has 15% breakthrough infections and MMR has 12%. And those vaccines all work wonderfully. There's every reason to believe that we'll always have the same tens of millions of COVID breakthrough infections as we have flu breakthrough infections every year. If the standard for being safe becomes when the media no longer has large numbers of infections to report, we're never going to feel safe because we are designed to never achieve that standard. Therefore, since the number of infections is not correlated to the severity of COVID, what can we measure that is correlated? Medical researchers talk about COVID patients admitted to the ICU and deaths caused by COVID, which both the CDC and Johns Hopkins publishes daily. COVID being the third most common cause of death is chilling. However, when you look deeper than the headline, useful information does come up. Individuals 65 and above account for 75%. Individuals 29 and younger account for 2.3%, which means that of 127 million Americans that are 29 years and younger, there have been a grand total of 5,634 that have passed away. Car accidents, 9,626, meaning that college students driving home for Christmas and kids driving on a summer vacation with their family is more lethal to them than COVID is. And that's a tragedy that needs to be dealt with and focused on at all times, is that because the first 29 years of life becomes the foundation that a society's entire future is built upon. And we're entering our third year of disrupting 127 million Americans from moving through their stages of life. Most recently, the trend is this. The CDC has reported increasing infection rates beginning on October 24th. This is our 10th week of rising cases. Cases have increased almost 400%. During that time, COVID ICU patients have increased 8%, and deaths have actually gone down by 19%. And it's happening all over the world. The number of deaths is decreasing as cases spike. It's happening simultaneously in highly vaccinated as well as unvaccinated countries. This is what the medical community has been anticipating. Every recorded flu and COVID pandemic has ended in an average of 18 months, and until this one, a vaccine has never played a role. It is too early to say the end is around the corner, but this is the most joyous news since the pandemic began. And instead of a discussion of this, the proclamations of doom and fear have actually increased, and we have to ignore that because we have to work through them. We've been told over the last few weeks that no one is safe from breakthrough infections until they have had 3 shots. And the best news of all to come out this morning was this morning. And no, it wasn't when Johns Hopkins reported that ever since December 12th, the number of deaths reported globally has been falling nearly 4 times faster than they've been dropping in the United States, giving us an additional indication of where we are headed. That's not what was talked about. What's worthy of making the news today is that Pfizer vaccine has been approved at 5 months, meaning we won't need to wait even 6 months between vaccinations anymore. I was particularly hit by the video from New York City where a mother and her crying child were being forced out of a restaurant because she didn't have proof of vaccination. Although I did get a laugh from one governor saying that people should be wearing masks in between bites at their restaurants in order to stay safe. Of course, comments like that will eventually lead to a country where even more mothers and children will be moved from restaurants if they don't have the proper papers to show when demanded. In this state, we're once again closing schools. The first time I spoke before this board 4 months ago, my final point was saying that the fear was never going to end. And here we are with every scientific reason for hope and good cheer. Instead, parents and teachers are seeing the development of children continuing to be warped and the effects of that trauma showing at their behavior at school and home. We will never receive permission to stop being afraid. Our only option is to choose to replace fear with facts. Whether or not it was ever worth the cost before, certainly now we can agree that schools should not be closed, that the damage caused by quarantining kids who are not sick, to put that mask back up, you'll make your friends sick as they are letting another child see them smile and talk. The damage to those children's lives is not worth whatever benefit is supposed to be arriving as a result. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, we'll move then to board member response to public comment. Board members have 3 minutes each, should they choose to respond. Mrs. Murray?
I'd just like to say thank you to everyone that's come out tonight. We always like it when we hear feedback from our staff members, from the community. We appreciate it, and we always take it into consideration. Don't think we're just listening to be listening. We are thinking about what you're saying, and we will discuss it. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Dr. Zetmar?
In addition to what Linda just said, I just hope your kids and parents know what a caring, compassionate, passion-filled team of teachers they have at Salem Avenue. It made me tear up to see you all here in your t-shirts. It's just great. Thank you.
Mr. Gaspard?
I just have a question for Dr. Michael. Are we short on cleaning supplies?
We are not short on cleaning supplies, so if anybody's purchasing cleaning supplies, they just need to see custodian, principal, contact Jeff Prue. I mean, we certainly have ample cleaning supplies, so there's no need for anybody to be purchasing any cleaning supplies at all. We can supply everything that anybody needs. We can even use ESSER funds to supply things beyond what we normally would have for custodians to use.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. We'll move then to old business. Our first item of old business under consideration this evening is the second reading of proposed changes to policy JICG, use and possession of tobacco products, and the second reading to rescind policy JFLG, tobacco-free school premises. We have Chief Legal Counsel, Mrs. Ram, with us this evening.
Thank you. President Williams, members of the board, Dr. Michael. The policy committee is conducting a comprehensive review of the student section of the Board of Education's policy manual. The committee reviewed policies JICG and JFLG at its public work session on December 14th, 2021, and recommended changes to policy JICG and the rescission of policy JFLG. The committee's changes to policy JICG include applying the policy not just to students, but to staff and visitors as well. In addition, the committee recommended recodification of the policy from the student section because the proposed changes will make the policy applicable to students, staff, and visitors. The policy will be recodified to the A section of the Board of Education's policy manual, which covers foundations and basic commitments. The committee is recommending the rescission of policy JFLG because policy JICG covers the subject matter of policy JFLG. The Board of Education approved the first reading of the committee's proposed changes to policy JICG and the first reading of the committee's recommendation to rescind policy JFLG on December 21st, 2021. The committee posted a notice on board docs and the school system's website following the Board of Education's approval, seeking public comment on the proposed changes. The committee has not received any comments to date. The committee is now recommending the Board of Education's approval of the second reading of policy JICG and policy JFLG.
Thank you, Mrs. Ram. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the second reading of proposed changes to policy JICG entitled Use and Possession of Tobacco Products, and the second reading to rescind policy JFLG entitled Tobacco-Free School Premises.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Zepmeyer. Any discussions or any questions? Okay, then we'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve the second reading of proposed changes to policy JICG entitled Use and Possession of Tobacco Products, and the second reading to rescind policy JFLG entitled Tobacco-Free School Premises. All those in favor of the motion? We have 7 affirmatives, and the student member concurs. Motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Ram. Our first item under new business this evening is a contract agreement between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Association of Administrators and Supervisors for the 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Rachel Kane-Kirkpatrick to the table representing the administrators and supervisors tonight. We're pleased that we've been able to meet and confer through the meet and confer process. We've reached agreement for a contract for the 22-23 school year, so the contract that'll start July 1st of 22 of the current year, I guess we're in, current calendar year. And tonight we're seeking the board's approval on the proposed contract amendments.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. Is there a motion?
President Williams, I move to approve the contract agreement between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Association of Administrators and Supervisors for the 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Zedmeyer. Any questions, any discussion?
I do have one question. This seems to be pretty quick that we're doing this contract. Is this normal, typical? I've only been here for a couple years, but I know sometimes these negotiations can linger on a little bit, but it seems like this is a pretty smooth process.
The process with our A&S group is a meet and confer process, kind of a collaborative effort to reach agreements. The team brought very reasonable requests as presented to the board, and I think we've reached mutual consent here pretty quickly. So traditionally, at least the last 3 or 4 years, we've been able to approve their contract in January or early February, and we appreciate their leadership and pulling things together. Appreciate the board's support potentially tonight.
That's what I was trying to get. I'm not trying to make a dig on any of the teachers or ESP either, but we appreciate your willingness to come to us and speak with us as well, so thank you.
Why not? Okay, we'll move to the vote. We're voting on Mrs. Murray's motion, Dr. Zentmeyer's second, to approve the contract agreement between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Association of Administrators and Supervisors for the 2022-2023 school year. All those in favor? Okay, we have 7 affirmative. Motion carries.
Dr. King Kirkpatrick has any comments she wants to share, but I'd like to offer that opportunity, if that would be all right.
Absolutely.
I do. President Williams, Dr. Michael, and board members, I want to express my appreciation for the hard work my colleagues have done and are doing every day, and for the recognition this agreement gives to this work. Thank you, Dr. Michael, and members of the Board of Education for the collaborative and supportive nature of the meet and confer process this year. We have all faced unprecedented challenges over the last 2 years, and the members of Unit 2, along with our colleagues in the other 2 units, have risen to meet those challenges. While we're not out of the woods yet, I know that our ANS staff, who have shown great resilience and relentless dedication in their leadership, will continue to successfully guide staff, students, and families through the pitfalls that lie ahead. If you indulge me for 1 minute while I have your ear, as chairperson for Unit 2, I want to urge the Board of Education and the senior leadership of WCPS to continue their work in securing the resources needed to address the social, emotional, and mental health needs of our students. We are seeing, hearing, and feeling high levels of dysregulation from our students due to the traumas caused or amplified by the pandemic. While the closing academic gaps are important, helping students and staff find ways to heal and rebuild their learning environments is perhaps our most important key to beginning to close those gaps. Along with additional professional staff in the form of social workers, behavior specialists, and counselors, we need professional learning opportunities to make us more effective in creating environments that effectively support the emotional and mental well-being of not only our students, but also our teachers and our support staff. Thank you for hearing me on this issue and for everything you guys have done to secure the resources we need to serve our students and families in Washington County.
Thank you very much, Dr. King Kirkpatrick, and please know that this board member certainly appreciates the perseverance and resilience shown by the administrators and supervisors of Washington County, and this board member shares your concerns, so thank you very much for your comments. Our next item of new business is the consideration of the board member standing committee assignments. Those committee assignments are as follows. The proposed slate of standing committees for 2022. The Curriculum and Instruction Committee will be chaired by Dr. April Zentmeyer with Stan Stauffer and Linda Murray as members. Mr. Michael Gesford will chair the Facilities Committee with Dr. April Zentmeyer as a member and Peter Bickford as the third member. Daryl Evans will chair the Finance Committee with Melissa Williams and Stan Stauffer as members. Mrs. Linda Murray will chair the Human Resources Committee with Michael Gesford and Daryl Evans as the other 2 members. And Mr. Peter Bickford will chair the Policy Review and Development Committee with Stan Stauffer and Melissa Williams as members. Those are the proposed committee assignments. Is there a motion, please?
Mrs. Williams, I move for the approval of the recommended standing committee assignments.
Mr. Gesford, is there a second?
Second.
I heard Mr. Stauffer. Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Any questions, any discussion regarding the slate? Okay, then we'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve the recommended standing committee assignments. All those in favor? Thank you, 7 affirmative.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. That brings us to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams and board members. Tonight, I'm very excited to bring a report on our literacy tutoring program. At this time, I'd like to call forward Carly Pumphrey and Dr. Lori Ridgely to up front. They're going to share some information about our tutoring program. I get the joy of visiting schools, and I've been in 6 schools in the last 2 days. I have to think about, I have seen a couple of our tutors, but I don't think I've seen very many of them yet, but we're kind of just getting back into the group. But frequently where I see our tutors, particularly in elementaries, out in hallways, kind of a makeshift office working with our students. And it just brings me great joy to see the progress they're making and progress they're making in middle school and our other programs we have at high school with our Reading Apprenticeship program. So tonight, we just wanted to bring a little update to the board. We hope to bring a math update on our tutoring program with math in the near future. And at this time, I'll turn it over to staff.
President Williams, Dr. Michael, members of the board, we are very excited to be here this evening to celebrate the work of our reading tutors and to share some information with you. I am Carly Pumphrey, Supervisor of English Language Arts and Social Studies. Jody Smith is not able to be with us this evening. She is our Secondary Literacy Achievement Coordinator, who also supervises the reading tutors in the secondary schools.
And I am Dr. Lori Ridgely, and I am the elementary supervisor of 14 reading tutors. And tonight I would like 3 of my reading tutors who are here. Just go ahead and stand up. I want to introduce them and recognize them. Cynthia Spenner, she's at M.A.K. Dowd. We have Nikki Draheim, who's at Rockland Woods, and we also have Emma Klein, who's at Pangborn Elementary. So very pleased to have them this afternoon. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for coming tonight. I understand they volunteered to come tonight because they wanted to see the presentation, and we appreciate the work that they're doing.
So the purpose of the reading tutors really is to accelerate learning in reading. We use a very clear process. We start by assessing students. We use, in the elementary school grades, we use a screener that basically is an assessment that identifies students who might be at risk for having reading difficulties. We try to catch them as early as possible. We have a assessment in pre-K even, and kindergarten through 3rd grade is required by the state from the Ready to Read Act. And we give that in the fall, winter, and spring. That screener gives us general information about what students need extra support to be sure that they are successful in becoming readers. In the middle school, we use a variety of other assessments like the electronic reading inventory that we have been given for many years. It gives us a general idea of whether a student is reading on grade level or below grade level. We then provide very targeted and explicit instruction to those students that have been identified as needing extra support. And then we monitor their progress on a regular basis, and that's the work of our reading tutors. They are every day taking notes of what the students are doing well, what the students are not catching on to, and then adjusting the instruction to be sure that they are meeting the needs of the students. And as we monitor their progress, we celebrate their success. And when they are reaching the expectations, we're able to then get more students into the program and address their needs. So we have 20 reading tutors throughout the county. And last year there were 10, and the year before that 10. And this year we were able to add 10 to our initiative. And we did that really through your efforts and the support of Dr. Michael. And we'll talk a little bit about the funds in just a minute. We have 14 in our elementary schools. You can see them listed on the screen. And we have new this year 6 in our middle schools. And that is very exciting. We utilize a program called the Reading Apprenticeship Academic Literacy Program that is really targeting in the middle school grades, helping them learn strategies to access grade level text.
So in many cases, the students know how to read. They are lacking strategic reading behaviors. And so we teach them a strategy that will help them think about their reading, to visualize, to infer, and to improve their comprehension. So we're very excited about adding tutors to our middle schools. Funding. The exciting part about funding is that the money does not come out of our general budget. This is grant funded. So we use a variety of grant funds, and you see those on the screen, to provide both the salary of our reading tutors and the supplies and materials necessary to give them what they need to support our learners. So these are grant-funded positions through both the TSI, the ESSER grant, and the tutoring grant from the state. Dr. Ridgely is going to share some information as we move forward.
At the elementary level, we are servicing right now around 254 students. And at the elementary level, that is kindergarten through third grade. At the middle school level, right now, we have about 344 students, sixth through eighth grade that we are servicing. We do want to highlight that the reading tutors do have specialized training in this role. As part of that, our professional learning days, they are with us through that professional learning piece. They come, many of them, probably right behind me too, they come to after-school learning even through regular ed professional learning, not just through me. One of the things that Jody and I do on a regular basis, weekly, is we visit our reading tutors and we sit with them, we coach them, and we watch the instruction so that we can ensure that the specialized instruction that is happening is making a difference. So when we talk about when, that is their specialized training. And what is the result of that? We have a lot of research-based routines that we use. We also use very strategic and specific reading interventions. And progress monitoring is big in our world. It is biweekly progress monitoring because most of the students are at a tier 3 intervention, so that's very intense intervention. We also provide monthly feedback to the parents as well as to the school in the collaboration from the tutors to the teachers as well as the lead teachers and principals. So a day in the life of a reading tutor, we're going to show a short clip here for you, and as you're watching it, we want you to be able to pull out these things that we value highly of our reading tutors and what they do for our students each and every day. One of the things that we take pride in is that they do engage students in learning every single day. Our students want to come to us, which is an awesome feeling, right? You get that smile on your face every time you see students. One of the other things we want you to notice is the progress monitoring. Some different types that we use, and it varies from elementary to secondary. And also the collaboration. So you're going to see a couple different voices in the video today, from LT to principal as well as reading tutors, to show that they're not standalone positions, that is a collaboration in the school system in order to make this successful. So we're going to watch that here and then take any questions that you have and point out some things.
One of the most vital aspects of this position is to provide that daily explicit instruction to some of our most striving readers, providing them some of those foundational reading skills so they can grow to be really successful readers.
They focus on getting to know the learners, getting to know the students and their interests and their backgrounds, and finding texts that interest them.
So when the reading tutor pulls a student, they work on those targeted skills. But the best part is when they take them back to the classroom, we can have that chat with the teacher about what's working, what has the teacher been seeing in their classroom. So then we're better able to fine-tune that instruction. So we're setting that kid up for the most success possible.
We use progress monitoring as a way to assess their growth, not only on an ERI test, but also their individualized instruction that they're receiving.
I take daily notes I also submit biweekly reports to the teachers so they can use that in their classrooms. I do a monthly IDI to test for letters and sounds. And then several times a year we do an assessment, a DIBELS assessment.
It's so clear what the kids are lacking. It's not a guess about, oh, they knew E today, but they don't know E tomorrow. It shows me, like, at this point in time, what they know and what they don't know, and then I can pull all my resources and help support that.
Honestly, we communicate a lot in person as well, especially when we have successes. We share those successes. We talk about what we're doing in here so that they can implement those things in their small groups. So there's a lot of collaboration.
There's one student that comes to mind that came to school last year with no phonological awareness whatsoever. And that's often learned naturally, and some kids need a little help with it. Let's fast forward to this year. He not only knows his letters and sounds, but he can take those sounds and make words, and his reading fluency has improved dramatically this year. And I'm just a piece of that puzzle. He has two amazing classroom teachers.
So in the beginning of the year, I had a student that was a part of my homeroom in first period. He went from, on his ERI from the fall, he was at 801, and the last time he took the ERI, he went up to a 1020 score. So he has transitioned out. This individual came up to me yesterday and said that he's continuing to check books out of the library. He's going to the public library, so now it's a thing that he likes to do, and it it makes me get teary-eyed because this program is working, it's beneficial, and I do believe that students in this county need this individualized instruction.
I think the data shows that's working. The kids with books in their hands show it's working. If I could wish anything, it's that I could be cloned, because we could use more of us in the schools.
It's been amazing to see that with time and support, that children can grow exponentially.
We're starting to see a lot more solid foundational reading skills. Kids are successful with reading, they're feeling more confident, and we're growing really great readers across the county.
I don't know if you had any additional comments you wanted to make, but board members, we certainly want to take questions from that. I mean, as a teacher of 12 years, I didn't teach reading specifically, but as I taught and I saw those lights finally come on, or those rays of hope, or, I mean, that's the satisfaction of teaching, is when you can see growth in your students. And I'm excited with our reading tutors and our whole program and all the efforts of our staff, you know, to teach a child to read, to open up that door of reading. Imagine the opportunities that opens up for the rest of their life. So when I talk about we're changing lives forever, we truly are, when we open that opportunity for someone to learn to read, because it opens up so many other learning opportunities. So with that, board members, the team and tutors, I'm sure would all be glad to respond to any questions you might have.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mr. Stauffer.
We've been told for years parents play a key role in reading instruction. Can we re-emphasize for the people listening and the people here tonight how important it is to parents to sit down and read with their children?
Absolutely. Reading with your children, talking with your children, those are definitely great ways to get them started to be successful readers. Our tutors also, as Dr. Ridgely mentioned, they communicate with the parents. They share with the parents what they're doing, what's working. They share the strengths that the students are demonstrating and then the areas that they're focusing on, and often give tips on ways they can support that at home as well, and even provide resources such as texts, books that they can read at home with their families. So absolutely, we appreciate all that the parents do, and they're vital. I love, one of my favorite phrases in the video was that the tutor acknowledged they're one piece in the puzzle, and you're exactly right, Mr. Stauffer. Parents are also another very important piece of that puzzle.
And one other thing, the number for elementary number of students that we're working with, that seems awfully low. Certainly there are more that we're not reaching, or What's the story on that?
There's a difference in the service type that we give or provide at elementary versus secondary. At elementary, we are one-to-one intervention, so it's not small group instruction that we do. In secondary, they have a class or a class roster, so it's a little different. So it's one-on-one in elementary in a tier 3 versus the secondary, so that's why the numbers look like that.
Thank you.
Mrs. Murray?
When I visited Ruth Ann Monroe back in December, I got to observe a reading tutor. And the enthusiasm, the tutor, the kids, it was so exciting. I could have stayed there all day. It was wonderful. And just the setup and how they went into the room under this little tent, this little tunnel, and just all of the things and the kids were just so pumped. It was wonderful. You guys are doing great work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
We
Linda.
appreciate that.
Dr. Ridgely, thank you for the fine work that
Oh,
you're
Tanisha has a
doing.
question.
Oh, I'm sorry. May I just make this comment and then I'll
Oh,
come
yeah,
right
go
back to
ahead.
you? I want to thank you for the fine work that you're doing, and to our tutors, thank you so much. The work that you're doing is critical. And I think Dr. Michael just expressed it very well. It's foundational, you know. If kids can read and want to read, the doors to success are open. Mr. Gupta.
First of all, I just want to thank you and all the tutors for all the work. I read a lot as a kid. I say that's part of the reason why I think I'm such a good student now. Something like 80 books a year. I can't imagine it now. But I just had a question. So I saw in the video that students they leave the tutoring program once they hit a certain level. So on average, how long does it take for a student to leave tutoring?
That is very specific to the student and the student needs. So there really isn't an average, and it also is very dependent upon where they are when they come in. So some students are very well below grade level, multiple years. That's going to take a lot more time than students who are just below and they need a little bit exposure, a little bit additional time reading, and then they achieve that very quickly. So it's very dependent upon the child and how far below they are and what their specific needs are.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dean, for coming in. Tutors, thanks for committing your time tonight. We appreciate all that you do, and hope you've gained great satisfaction out of the work that you're doing with our children. We appreciate the leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Yep, please feel free to get up and leave. You won't insult us at all. Board members, just a couple other things tonight. January is National School Board Month. I don't have a proclamation for you tonight. I don't have any prizes. I don't have any gifts. But as school board members, I mean, you're not paid nearly enough for the time and work and effort that it takes to do this position. I know that I greatly appreciate your work. I'm sure the community does. I think it's certainly a position that's undervalued in many ways. But I certainly appreciate what you're doing. And again, it's National School Board Month, so I just want to bring that to the community's attention, and thank you. See the graphic that Jessica put together up there for us for National School Board Month.
I'd rather have crumpy donuts than a proclamation.
Yeah, I should have done something for you. We got through closed session quickly, so that was the gift here for tonight. We're at that time, so every 6 months with the Elementary School Emergency Relief Fund application, we need to do a survey of the community, parents, administrators, teachers, and get input. So about 6 months ago, we received input on our plan, a reentry plan, how we're going to use the federal funding, those types of things. And that opportunity will come up again in the next day or so. You're going to see on our website an opportunity to respond to a survey about our priorities here in Washington County and how we're implementing and continuing to implement the use of those funds and resources, as well as our reopening efforts to accelerate learning for students. So if you'd like to have an opportunity to give us feedback, we'd appreciate the feedback, and we'll use that to make any edits to our plan. So please go to our website, probably by tomorrow, Dr. Pugh, and there'll be an opportunity there. You'll be able to find a link to a couple surveys, and we encourage you to fill those out. This is the last week to fill out nominations for Teacher of the Year. I think it closes on Friday, January 7th, so we encourage you, if you know a great teacher that you'd like to nominate, they're still accepting nominations, and you can find those nomination applications on our website as well. I did want to make one comment, I guess, about where we are with our continuity of learning plan right now. This obviously, as we go into the third year of the pandemic, is an unprecedented, one more unprecedented year. It just seems to get more complicated as we move forward. Certainly we hoped last July 2nd, when we were at 0.5% of positivity, that the pandemic was gone. And today I think we were at 26 something, so significantly higher, and obviously we're still in the midst of it. But I want to thank staff for their creativity, their innovation, their passion for overcoming the pandemic. As I mentioned earlier, I was in 6 schools in the last couple days. I mean, I'm hearing from teacher after teacher, ESP person, administrator, all recognizing how challenging the pandemic is, but all willing and wanting to stay the course to keep children in person and learning. So the very best of our ability, that's our plan here in Washington County. As we move forward, we're committed to in-person instruction, and we'll do that to the very best of our ability. We will need the community's cooperation. We're going to send a newsletter out, I think, tonight that just shares a little bit of information. You know, there'll be times of adjustments, times when we have to collapse classes. I appreciate our teachers and ESP staff that are covering for each other. We have a lot of things like that that have to happen. We've been fortunate so far, and I don't want to jinx us, but we worked extremely hard in transportation to make sure that we're trying to meet our deadlines and on-time service for transportation, but there's every possibility at some point we might have some routes that we need to delay or cancel, and we'd certainly try to work with the community and make people aware of that. So we just appreciate your patience with us if there's adjustments we need to make as we move forward. But right now our plan is to stay the course. We believe in our students returning and being in person, and our staff, again, I just can't thank ESP staff, teachers, administrators enough for all the work they're doing to help our students stay in in-person learning. To parents, I would say if your child is sick, and even to staff, if you're sick, please stay home. Take care of yourself. But I'd also say to parents, if your child is well, please have them attend school. This year's attendance has been off tremendously. We're going to have a report on that in a couple board meetings from now. And a lot of it is not related to COVID. I think people aren't taking school seriously because it's been a little different over the last couple of years. We really need to get back in the routine of attending school regularly. It's difficult for staff to teach children that aren't there. Now, again, obviously, if children are sick or quarantined, or staff are sick or quarantined, we recognize why they would not be there. But please, parents, work with your children to have them there every day that's possible, and we'll all work together. The governor had a press conference today. He talked about the next 4 to 6 weeks will be our most challenging, so maybe there is light coming at the end of the tunnel here, and it's not another train, and maybe the pandemic will be behind us here within a couple months. But we will have a tough couple weeks coming up, or month, and we just need to work together and make those things happen. So those are all my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mike.
President Williams, could I ask a question about that real quick?
Certainly.
And I will say that, obviously, if you watch these board meetings, I do give an awful lot of pushback on some of the things we do. I do appreciate that, you know, we can at least have a discussion, and I certainly understand a lot of the stuff that we're doing. Sometimes, though, it seems like we're doing things just to do things. And I got a call from a parent, I can't remember if it was this morning or yesterday morning, complaining about the masking of her child when she was playing in the band. I think she said her daughter plays the saxophone. That's one of those things, and I remember seeing that at the Clear Spring Veterans Day program. That's one of those things that I just don't get. It seems like we're doing it just to do it. And I know and I don't know if this is a requirement that we're doing it or if it's voluntary from the teachers or students or whatever, but I know the state masking mandate says that that one of the exceptions is for students playing instruments. And also, I would consider especially the marching band, because I know I'm not in good enough shape to walk around and do all the stuff they do while blowing on a trumpet or a trombone or whatever, but I would consider that to be physical exercise as well. So is there something that we could do to, and I know they're also being distanced as well, so it just seems like that mask for especially the band, just seems like it might be a little bit excessive. So I don't know if there's anything you know about that.
Have Mike Sox review that. I know an awful lot of our band directors have helped kind of lead that effort in specialized masks with various slits depending upon the type of instrument. Also, the bell of a lot of our, horns and things like that are covered to try to avoid that spray. As you recall, early on in the pandemic, there was concerns about singing and band instruments, and especially those with breath blowing through a horn and things like that. So I think we've had a lot of practices for the last year and a half, 2 years, that we've implemented. We certainly can have our COVID response team review that. I just think we're not always socially distanced. It's depending upon the size of the band and things, and we're just trying to keep going.
And like I said, I certainly understand a lot of these things, but I mean, the thing with the slit in the mask, that just, I'm not a very smart man to begin with, but every time I see some of these things, I just feel like I lose 15 points off my IQ. But if I remember correctly, when I was at Clear Spring, they even had something over the end of their instruments that kind of prevented that spray. I don't understand why that wouldn't be enough, and then when they're done playing, they go back and sit down or they're taking their break, then they could put their mask back up. It just seems to me like sometimes we're doing things just to, I don't want to necessarily say just to do things, but sometimes we get a little too excessive in what we're doing. So just.
I can assure you, we're not going through any motions. We're
Right,
just trying to
right,
do
and that-
everything
yeah.
we can to keep ourselves open. Again,
Exactly.
July 2nd, we were at 0.5, half of 1%. Today, we are 52 times higher than that. 52 times higher than we were on July 2nd. We're just trying to stay open.
Right, and like I said, I certainly understand that. It just seems like that one might be a little excessive to.
I'll ask Mike Sox to review that and our COVID response team to review that, see how that's working out. And again, how close is the band, all those types of things. Outside, marching band, probably would have been all right to have them without some of that. But a lot of the band directors are just trying to keep their whole team there as well.
Again, I certainly understand, and I appreciate you taking a look at it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. This time we'll have personnel action. Dr. Pugh, our Associate Superintendent for Administration and Leadership. Today's personnel action. Dr. Pugh.
Good evening, President Williams, Dr. Michael, members of the board. As discussed earlier in closed session today, there are a number of staff changes for your consideration. And at this time, I ask for your approval of the personnel actions.
Thank you, Dr. Pugh. Is there a motion, please?
President Williams? I move for the approval of the personnel actions that were discussed today in closed session.
Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Any questions? Okay, we'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve personnel actions as discussed earlier in closed session. All those in favor? All right, we have 7 affirmatives, a unanimous vote. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Pugh. Okay, reports to the board. We have board member committee reports. Dr. Zentmeyer, would you like to begin down there?
She and I will meet here next Monday, the 10th, at 2 o'clock. And Able and data are on the agenda, 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock? And you said Able and what?
Data.
Thank you very much.
2 o'clock, Dr. Zentmeyer? Excuse me. 2 o'clock? 3, okay, that's what I thought.
I was trying to change it.
Trying to fool me.
Very subtly. Facilities Committee, Mr. Guessford.
Thank you. Facilities will be meeting January the 25th at 9 a.m. here at the facility.
Thank you, Mr. Guessford. Finance Committee, Mr. Evans.
Yes, we will be meeting on Thursday, January 27th at 9 a.m.
Mr. Evans. Human Resources Committee, Mrs. Murray.
We will be meeting Tuesday, January 11th at 10 o'clock in the Funkstown room.
Mr. Dickford, Policy Review and Development Committee.
We're meeting on the 25th, a Tuesday at 11:30 here.
have anything that you wanted to say about student government?
We'll be meeting Wednesday to discuss our upcoming General Assembly.
Tomorrow?
Yes.
Thank you.
What time? Yeah?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Me?
Okay, that's it for committee reports. Under miscellaneous business, we have future agenda items listed. We heard about our reading tutoring program this evening. Coming up at our next meeting on January 18th, we have a report on our math tutoring program. We'll also have a legislative briefing that evening. On February 1st, the superintendent will present his fiscal year 2023 draft budget in work session, and then we will have the adoption of the Board of Ed's, well, the superintendent's draft budget will become then the board's draft budget by board action that same day at the business meeting on February 1st. As part of the superintendent's report on February 1st, we have the apprenticeship spotlight. And then the second meeting in February, we have a legislative briefing with Mrs. Cade. March 1st, more into the budget process, we will have the Budget Advocacy and Review Committee report on their views and recommendations regarding the board's draft general fund operating budget for fiscal year 2023. And then, second meeting in March, we have a legislative briefing, that's March 15th, and action on the board's general fund operating budget will also happen that evening, March 15th. Those are our future agenda items. I'd like to remind everyone of the work session that we have coming up on January 18th at 1:30. That work session is on the policy on bullying, harassment, or intimidation. Our chief legal counsel will be with us for that work session. That's it for future agenda items. So now we're to board member comments. Would you like to begin?
Happy New Year. It's shaping up to be a better New Year than last year, so for forward motion.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Mr. Evans?
Yep, same here. Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a great break, a great end of the year, and I don't know about anyone else, but I'm rooting for a little bit of snow Thursday night, so hopefully we get to see it. Sorry, Dr. Michael.
We don't use that word.
I like snow.
I did hear that you do get up at 4 o'clock, so we'll include you on the 4 o'clock call.
That's fair. That's fair. You could do that.
Mr. Gaspard?
I have nothing tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Gaspard. Mr. Stauffer?
I just think 2022 is a better one than 2020 and 2021.
Thank you. Mr. Bickford?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Mrs. Murray?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Mr. Lisa?
I just want to remind everyone to stay safe out there. COVID is spreading pretty fast, so do whatever you need to do to keep yourself safe from getting COVID.
Thank you. Nothing for me this evening. But Dr. Michael, if you have nothing further, colleagues, you have nothing further, we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you. Peter, are you putting this stuff in her office even though she's not here?
Just a little more than.